Good morning, everyone. I have been down in Oregon for the past couple days. One of my best friends passed like 15, 20 years of getting married. So we were down in Oregon, having a good time, chilling, getting away from the shop for a little bit. We're back. I don't have any other trips planned for at least the next 2 months. So that means we can get grinding on a lot of these cars. We've got 2 client cars to knock out this week. One of them being an Outback XT. Already has an STI 6-speed in it. We're putting a built motor rotating kit on it. The other one is an 05 STI that's getting dropped off tomorrow. So once we get through those, we can get back on the 2.5 RS, get back onto the Corolla, and get back onto our 06 STI. But this thing should be pretty sweet. We've got a lot of little supplementary things going on this that we got to do also. Ooh, does sound a little bit knocky like you said. Look at that. Look at that beautiful STI 6-speed in an Outback. So to give you guys a quick little rundown on this Outback, this was built a couple years ago. There's some things in here that are just a little bit janky in my opinion. I'll kind of point those out as we go through this build. But we're gonna be fixing a lot of this and just kind of refreshing it. This has an old IEG 750 in it. The owner had some suspicions about the engine. He just didn't feel comfortable with it. So we have one of my V3 closed decks going into this Outback. This thing should be pretty sweet when done. It is staying on pump gas only though. So we are gonna be updating the AOS to a more modern one and changing a lot of the other stuff in this car. Back here, we've got all sorts of goodies. We have a Precision 5858 Cosworth intake manifold, radium fuel pump hanger, ETS max flow headers. We are gonna be putting some BC coilovers on this car with a Swift Spring upgrade, changing the cat back, doing all sorts of goodies to really bring this thing to life. This Outback is used as the owner's daily driver, so with that, he didn't want to have to go with the hassle of trying to get E85 or anything like that. So 58 on pump gas, this car should be around like 500 wheel or so, 450, 500 on a built motor, so it should do pretty well. So let's start by tearing this thing apart. The first thing we got to do, as always, are drain fluids out of this, both coolant and oil, and then we can start tearing it apart because I don't want to make a mess of fluids. I hate making a mess of fluids. It happens every time though. All right, oil gotta be the first thing come out though. Oh, always on the floor, man. Sick. All right, coolant and oil. There's coolant on my camera.
Well, I'm sorry about that, everybody. I do apologize.
While that drains, I'm gonna clean this because right now the video is all sorts of like fuzzy, I bet. With oil and coolant all drained out, we can actually start tearing this apart now. So it'll probably be battery, intake system, intercooler piping, all of this is gonna start to come out. Intercooler is gonna end up coming off also because we have an ETS one that is gonna be replacing the one that's on here. So, I mean, this car is pretty much getting a full makeover from the stock location Bloush setup over to this Precision ETS rotated setup. Let's get in here, start ripping this apart so that way we can start building everything off of our new one and we can get these cylinder heads over to the machine shop to get. What is this? Oh my god, what the hell? Fuel line just ran over. Like, that's lazy. there's no return. There's no return. They built this fuel system with no return. Old IAG engine removed, ready to get torn down. So once we get this stripped down, we'll probably jump to installing some of the supplementary things on this. Coilovers, radium fuel pump hanger, all that stuff. So that way I can start making a pile of all the old stuff in the car to kind of keep everything organized. With multiple cars coming through this week, it'll just be easier. So on this guy, we're gonna go ahead and get the entire front cover off, timing off, cylinder heads off, get them bagged, set aside for the machine shop tomorrow, and get this thing. We can actually start transferring some stuff from this engine over to our new one, such as like knock sensor, timing gear, and like all the tiny stuff that we can just go bloop, bloop. we have the old engine stripped down. I have it wrapped up in plastic right now on the stand. We've got the new one all assembled up here in the front for what we can do right now. It's gonna be like oil cooler, supplementary stuff going on that. Not much more I can do that until our heads come back from the machine shop, so I'm gonna drop those off in the morning, but we have a ton of supplementary stuff to do on this Outback. For the engine stuff, it's pretty standard. I did find a lot of like backyard style mechanic type stuff going on in here. Half of the intercooler piping is literally a rubber hose. It's like the craziest stuff. The IAT sensor is drilled into the plastic manifold, and it's got like some janky harness made for it. There was just a lot. There was a lot of like weird little stuff. The fuel system had no return, but it was a parallel, and the fuel regulator was set up weird, but they used the stock fuel dampers while using Radium's fuel dampers. There was a lot of things that made me scratch my head and question it. The wastegate was ran weird. I don't know. I'm not going to question it too much right now. We're going to move past it. So one of the big things I want to jump on next is getting coilovers on this car. So the owner has a set of BC Racing coilovers with Swift springs that we're going to toss on, an NVIDIA exhaust that we're going to replace for the old Borla, because believe it or not, that Borla is actually held up with worm gear clamps. Once again, one of those like weird things that you see. Let's jump to the coilovers, because once I get the coilovers in, I can package up a lot of the old parts and get them in the trunk of the car. I like to keep the old parts with the car, so that way they're not getting separated or anything like that, and they stay with the car. They don't get mixed in with any other parts, but can't do that until we get the coilovers on. So let's get this thing up in the air. Doing coilovers on this isn't too bad. It's very similar to like a GR hatchback. For the rear struts are going to come up underneath that center mat in the back of the hatch. I'll show you guys. I had to find a video on where they came up. There wasn't really a ton of good ones out there, but I have a feeling that primarily Outback owners. I know this piece has to come out, and it's under that elongated piece in the front. This guy. I have to figure out how to get this guy out. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, there's a lot of stuff interconnected here. Oh, it just pops out! Look how easy that is. That's way easier. So that means we've got shock there, shock there. Let's go ahead and start with the rears, so that way we can actually start putting a lot of the old parts in here after we get them all cleaned and nicely packaged. I'm not gonna set height quite yet. I wanna get them on first, and then we can do all the height adjustments later, because I also don't know how low the owner wants to go yet. Looks pretty simple, to be honest. I mean, one bolt that runs through the bottom, and then the 2 bolts up top. So I mean, should be pretty easy. Like I said, this is just out the box height on these coilovers. I don't know how low it's gonna be or how tall it's gonna be, so I'm gonna have to double check with him to see how low or how high he wants to go. But for now, we can at least get them installed, and they look a hell of a lot better than the factory suspension does. Well, we still have the fronts to do, but the rears are probably the more labor intensive, I would say. We've got our BC coils installed. Like I said, I have not set height on this yet, but it does look a lot better. The rear is sitting lower than the front, but I want to communicate with the owner before I start adjusting height to see how low he actually wants to go on this thing. So we've got a couple more things that we're going to be doing on the Outback today before this gets set aside. I just dropped off the cylinder heads for this car this morning, so we should get those back either by Friday or next Monday, depending on when they can get them knocked out. I'm gonna go ahead and get the throwout bearing set up on the transmission, get the plug put back in for that. We have the ETS front mount core to put on here, the radium fuel pump hanger assembly, which Melanie is going to be swapping on there for us and assembling that because she is an expert at that now. She's done like 3 or 4 of them at this point. So I do need to pull the factory fuel pump assembly out of this. The other fuel pump that we need for that radium hanger assembly is still in the car. So I need to pull that one out, disassemble the factory fuel pump. So that way we've got both of the AEM 340s going in that thing. Since this car is staying on pump gas, we're not doing Wall Bureau 450s. He doesn't have aspirations to do like big power later. If he wants the option, he has the option to be able to do E85 and turn up the car a little bit. But since he's primarily staying on pump gas, we're keeping this car on AEM 340s, which will be more than enough fuel flow for what he's going to be doing. I believe this car also has ID 1300s on it. So fuel wise, this thing will be pretty much set up. So the back seats on these, they literally just pull up and out. Got to feed the seat belts back through. And then our fuel pump assembly is in the same spot it is on pretty much every Subaru. Boom, and there it is. So these use pretty much the same, actually they use the same fuel pump assembly as like an STI, like an 08 Plus STI. That connector is really in there. So disconnect all 3 fuel lines, disconnect the electrical connector, kind of tuck them all out of the way. This is going to pee fuel, so I'm gonna grab a rag. While Melanie assembles the radium hanger, I'm gonna jump to the front of the car and start getting the ETS front mount on here to replace the one that's currently on here. I think the one that's on here now is a Process West. I'm not entirely sure, but I mean, we'll rip it off and find out, get this ETS one on and start. We can do some of the piping that goes up into the engine bay and fully remove this old front mount kit. It really smells like gas in here. Front mount installed on the car, pretty easy to do. ETS gives you these little spacers. You're gonna have the smallest one here, and then the 2 bigger ones, one on each side. You are gonna have to pull off the black pieces that sit on the frame rail here. For the intercooler piping, I just bent this horn up and then this goes up. I did opt to trim the piece that runs behind the entire front mount because it was hitting the bottom of the core. On this side, you do have to relocate this washer bottle a little bit. You've got like a Z bracket that goes there, and then you've got 2 U ones, one that's gonna go there, and then one way back there. And then that'll allow you to fit your front mount intercooler piping on the car. So this is a huge upgrade from the other one. This is, I believe, a 3.5 or 4 inch core. The last one that we just took off was like a 2 inch and drastically smaller than this one. As for bumper trimming though, I don't think there's much I can honestly really do. Now that I'm looking at this, I can maybe cut out the center section, but that's gonna look really odd in my opinion. I don't know. We'll test fit the bumper and see if the bumper even fits, but like that middle section there just looks funky. Oh, okay, so we do have to do a little bit of trimming. I'm gonna pop this outside and trim down the backside a little bit. There's these like air duct vents, so I guess I am gonna cut this down a bit. Like a glove. Definitely leaves a gap to be a little undesired, but you know what, it at least provides more airflow. Now we've got the ETS front mount all set up to go. I will say, I wish the bumpers on these weren't as weird, because it's like there's so much more intercooler behind that bumper that just doesn't get airflow, and like even opening it up that much is about as much as I can get it to open up. But you know, it's there. It will still have better airflow than the one prior, and it will still perform better. While I was doing that, Melanie got this fuel hanger all assembled, double checked to work, all good to go. So this thing is going to get dropped into the fuel tank. I don't know if we're gonna wire it up today, we'll see. I wanna get this back installed to seal the fuel tank back up, and then I wanna jump to swapping over the cat back. He's got a Borla on there now. I believe that's for a Legacy, but I'm pretty sure it'll still fit this chassis the same. We're gonna find out. I'm not 100% sure. So let's get that new radium fuel hanger installed and then jump over to the catback. We'll see how we're looking on time, and we might start wiring that up. So this is the exhaust that's coming off. As you guys can see, it's quite literally held up with worm gear clamps. Don't know why. I should probably try to tuck that up all nice for him and whatnot too. But yeah, super odd. This is a Borla something. I think the only one that Borla makes is like the Borla Hush. I'm not entirely sure, but this one's gonna come off, and we're gonna swap it for this Q300 from Nvidia. It should make the car sound really good with the rotated kits, because rotated kits on like straight pipe cars, ungodly loud. Here's what I've learned. A Legacy exhaust does not fit on an Outback. So I ran into an issue. This is for a Legacy, and while the mufflers and the little mid-pipe section bolt up, the biggest issue is the axle back. The actual flange right here will run, you guys can see it because I saw this pipe in here, it runs straight into this control arm, and it needs to go up more. So the Outback actually has body spacers up here on top of the subframe, right there. It's got a larger bump stop up there. So because of that, this cat back will not work. So we're not gonna be using this. We're not putting that back on either. So right now there are two companies that I am aware of that make a catback exhaust for the Outback XT. That is Nameless Performance, which they're local to us here in Washington. So that is what we're actually gonna be going with. We're gonna get a Nameless Performance catback with 5-inch mufflers for this thing, because with these rotated kits, these Q300s, they do a beautiful job at quieting the car down, but if you don't have big enough mufflers, it is ungodly loud. The Legacy exhaust does not fit on the Outback. Just remember that. You can make it fit by removing the body spacers, removing the bump stop, changing the suspension, and doing a whole bunch of other stuff, but at that point you're spending more money than it would cost to just buy the proper exhaust for it. You could modify this one, but it's not worth the money. I would say if you have an Outback XT and you want an exhaust that fits and you don't want to remove body spacers and all this other stuff, just buy the Nameless Performance one. So I'm gonna get this exhaust removed real quick, pick up in here. We need to get the Outback off the lift and outside, and then we have an 05 STI to pull in that we're gonna be starting on tomorrow. So I need to organize and pick up a little bit to make room for this other car that we're gonna be tearing apart. That is where we are ending it on this one, you guys. I've got the shop relatively cleaned up speaking. The Outback, all of its parts are with it. I've got this 05 STI in that we're gonna be working on tomorrow. That's getting a long block replacement. He made life easy. I don't have to take anything to the machine shop, so we could probably do this entire build in one video. So I'll probably do that just to consolidate. I'm trying to knock this stuff out so we can get back to some of our projects, but obviously I make money doing this stuff. So it's just finding that balance between everything right now. So it just kind of ended up all of these cars being within like a 2 to 3 week time span all at once. After these two, there's one more car that's in queue, but I don't know when that one's gonna happen quite yet. But after these two, we're going back to our stuff because I want to get cracking on the 06 STI and the Corolla, specifically the RS. I want to jump back on, but they're still doing the molds on the roof, so that one will probably be a little bit longer. But with that, that's all I got for you guys on this one. There will probably be 1 or 2 more videos on this Outback. And then probably just one video, to be honest, on this 05 STI. So with that, if you guys like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button, turn it. Oh, and check this out. We just got some parts back from Powder Coat for the Outback. Cosworth manifold, powder coated white, and the cold side of the turbo powder coated white too, so that's pretty sweet. But anyways, if you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit the like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns to you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you like Subarus or anything else that we do, go ahead and hit that button, put in one of these corners. No idea which one quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out.
homies.